everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing a video that I have seen popping up kind of here, there and everywhere. Primarily I first saw it on my friend Lizzy's channel, and I love Lizzy. If you don't follow her, please go and check her out. She's amazing. But she did this video and it's like a style evolution video, and I absolutely loved watching it. I found it so interesting to see how her style had evolved over the last 5-6 years and what pieces perhaps have influenced her style. And I don't know, I thought that you were getting to know someone a little bit better as well, so I thought I would try it myself. So Lizzy, if you're watching, I hope you don't mind. I started my blog at the beginning of 2010, which is 7 years ago, which is quite weird, but seeing how my style's changed and my confidence in clothes has kind of had peaks and troughs kind of thing. It's kind of gone through different moments, and I used to post on my blog literally every other day, and I was like, sorry if you missed me, like anyone really cared, but it was just really interesting kind of taking a trip through time. I went on my Myspace profile, which is still out there, so it was just really fun to look back and see how my style's changed, and I thought I would show you some of the highlights and the things that have influenced my style from years ago to now, and yeah, let's get going. We are going to be taking a trip way back to 2007/2008 to start off with. This was probably the first time that I kind of really came into my own in a sartorial way, I suppose. I say that very loosely because my style in 2007 was very much governed by three things, and that was Myspace, nu-rave, and probably the Klaxons. I don't know what I was thinking at the time, but I was just so interested in kind of really bright clothes, bright skinny jeans. I had a pair of Nike Dunks I wore all the time. I had pieces of jewellery that were like Tetris and little record tapes and all sorts of things. And the way I talk about this makes me sound as if I'm 80, like all these little things I used to wear, but I was just so into just dressing up, having a good time. And it was a really fun time looking back on, because I think music really shaped how I dressed then. It's so different to how I dress now. Obviously, I mean, there's about 10 years in it, so it was just really fun. I was also obsessed with Florence the Machine. I had a fringe, and kind of from the start of 2007 to 2008, I kind of dyed my hair like a reddy gingery colour, and I started kind of dressing up a bit more. I had a thing with bright tights. I've got some leopard print tights and purple tights, things like that I was just like, And it's quite funny because I had that new ravey indie Myspace phase, but it kind of weaved into a real like wannabe scene kid phase as well, which never really materialised into anything. But I had like lots of check shirts, I had a really sweepy fringe which I back comb and put extensions in. But I never really went the whole hog. I never had like kind of striped extensions. I never dyed my hair black. I don't think I was really allowed. But I always gave it a good go. I had empty like glasses, like 20/20 vision, but a pair of empty frames. If anyone gets that reference, let me know, because I'll be very impressed. But that's the kind of thing I really loved. And I had Doc Martens, which I absolutely loved wearing with everything. And I used to wear them with like spotty tights, and they were like my real shoe of choice. And I remember one of my friends saying something like, they look really weird and really ugly, and I felt so conscious from that point onwards, which was a kind of almost a lesson for me that I should never really worry about what other people think, because it really doesn't matter. But I remember feeling a bit weird about it from that point on. And there's photos from festivals like Underage Festival, which was my first ever real music festival, I think, which was in London. It was like an under-16s festival, but it had the best lineups ever, and it's kind of like what Field Day is now, but for under-16s, so that was really cool. And yeah, it was really interesting looking back on my style from this period, because it was just so eclectic, and I hate the word quirky, but that's what it was. And it was just really playful, and I'm glad to look back on that kind of time and think, wow, I really had a lot of fun with my style, and I think it really shaped my love of fashion and dressing up and things like that. So yeah, that was 2007-2008. So moving on to 2009, I'm not going to do a whole year by year breakdown because that would take ages, but that was kind of when I started toning things down a bit. I say that, and I've just found some pictures that I instantly regret saying, because I had a real like granny chic style. Well, that's what was going on in my head. I had a real love for charity shopping at this time, and I still do now, but less. I don't really do it as much, but I used to love going to charity shops. My local high street has probably some of them, I think it's the most in the UK on one street. And I used to just love going, picking up really smelly old cardigans, and my mum would be like, we must wash that before you wear it. Layering up the little pixie boots that I'd get from places like Beyond Retro. I used to love going to Brick Lane, kind of going to all the vintage shops around there. That was one of my favourite things ever. So in 2009 I was also at sixth form, so I've got a few things from when I was studying, and I found that quite limiting with style because we had to wear a suit. But I remember my way of kind of jazzing it up was wearing like a black and white suit and then having like a ribbon around my neck. So kind of what people did last year with like lots of ribbons and little cowboy ties. I loved doing that when I was at school. And that was a real thing for me. And I wore a couple of little blazers, which is never really something that's kind of grown into my style. I've never really been one for tailoring. Kind of, I was almost toning it down from the last couple of years, growing up a little bit. I think I started a different sixth form to my secondary school, so I think I was always more conscious about what people would think. So I did start bringing things back, which leads me on to 2011 when I started university. So in 2011 I was at uni for about 3 months, but it's interesting looking at what I used to wear for things like nights out, because I wasn't really a night out kind of person. And I like to still kind of dress up a little bit, but it was always about maxi dresses. I remember picking up this dress which I wore for my prom at the end of my sixth form, which was actually from Zara, and I picked it up and I was just obsessed with it. It was this really pretty like tulle material, and it was just the kind of thing that I still would probably wear now. So it's interesting how you dip in and you think, actually I would definitely still wear that. And in this kind of phase, I think my style became quite girly. I really loved Alexa Chung. All the way back then, the sailor coat from Topshop was like my big wardrobe staple. I loved real like pleated collars, bows, polka dots, anything like that. I was all for. I was very into it. It was quite a girly style, almost a little bit twitty. And there's like little denim shorts, tights, things like that were a real staple in my wardrobe. Also started working at Whistles at this time, and I used to work in Topshop, so I was kind of going from Topshop to Whistles, and I got a lot of staff discounts, so I was like, yes! And all my money because I don't really drink at uni, all the money that I'd used, perhaps I would have spent on nights out, I would pop into like a shopping fund. So I was lucky that I could afford a few pieces from there, which was really exciting. A lot of my wardrobe was from Topshop because I'd worked there and I was like, yeah, everything, and I'd hide things in rails when I was on my shift because I was like, I want it all. Moving on to 2012, this was the part of my style where I started interning at a lot of fashion magazines, and I mean, you probably wouldn't know from all the pictures because there's definitely some different mixes. There's some bright jeans, which have definitely got a nod to my like 2008 Myspace days. Well, there's some disco pants as well. I mean, 2012 was the year of the disco pant. So yeah, I absolutely loved those. American Apparel was like my holy grail, loved it. But it was also the kind of, I became a little bit more interested in fashion and trends. But from 2012 to 2013, I think I started blogging nearly full time. I was juggling some retail work. I'm gonna try and not go into my life story too much. I feel like I'm edging that way. During this period, I really became very confident with my style. I look at pictures and I was just like, wow, I really admire me then for having the balls to wear some of the things. I remember there's this outfit where I'm in a check kind of 60s dress, and it was really inspired by a Louis Vuitton kind of catwalk look I'd seen. I was like, wow, that's cool. I had beehives. It was really 60s. But then I decided to wear it just going out for lunch with a friend in London, and I was just like, she was probably just like, Liv, what's going on here? But I just didn't care. And that year was also a time where I was really inspired by the 60s and 70s, like almost on quite a theatrical level. I had beehives all the time. Even there are pictures of me on holiday where I had a beehive, and I was like, well, I was so committed to this cause, and I absolutely loved it. I loved mini dresses. I was really into that whole thing, and it was quite a contrast between wearing my hair in a beehive or having it down and being quite 70s. There was no real in between, which is quite interesting, but I felt really confident with my style. I remember I went to Paris and I wore this amazing Vivetta miniskirt that I'd loaned, which I was so excited about, from a PR company. Like, do you want to wear anything to shoot? And I was like, yes, I do. And I just didn't care. I was so confident, and it's really nice because now I look back and I'm like, I definitely couldn't do that now. And I'd love to kind of get back into that space, not where I could wear a beehive every day, but just to feel really confident. But I think that was a nice kind of transition, and from that period I felt really like I was kind of establishing my style. I knew the things that really influenced me. I knew like the people that I really loved in fashion. It wasn't quite, I still love people like Alexa Chung then, but it was more so people like Audrey Hepburn. I did like Jane Birkin, but again, the 60s kind of style I really liked was really kind of Jean Shrimpton, the real playful kind of swinging kind of thing. But moving on to like 2014, that's when I feel that there were glimpses of how my style is now. I feel that's where I kind of really started transitioning into, like, in the last 3 years, I really think that's where I've really established my style, which it feels like it's taken a really long time, especially for this video. You look back and you're like, wow. In 2014, I started wearing a lot of things like dungarees. I wore lots of printed trousers. I wore dogtooth trousers. I had lots of floral things. And again, they're the kind of things I wear now. Like a real staple for me is a kind of printed trouser. I think even today I didn't know what to wear this morning. And I was like, oh God, not got enough time. And I put on some kind of gingham trousers and I was sorted. And it's things like that I can really look at that and really vouch of things like that have really stood the test of time in my wardrobe, which is really interesting. I think it's really, really useful as well. So that was kind of that year really. And then moving on, more in the last couple of years, I think 2015 was just the most confident I felt with my style. I really experimented the most in a non kind of crazy way. There wasn't any yellow jeans or anything, but denim is a really big part of my wardrobe, and that I can really see from looking up old pictures. There was a lot of culottes, lots of stripes, trainers, lots of things I still have in my wardrobe from 2015 that I wear on the regular, on the regs. So there were like pinafores, there's a lot of midi dresses, which I think this year especially have been a real thing for me. Because I've not felt the most confident with kind of different things, I've turned to midi dresses quite a lot because I just feel they're a really nice fix for people that perhaps don't like. And I've got really pale legs and the silly thing, really silly trivial things, but I think they're a really nice wardrobe staple. That year, especially 2015 was the year. I think I was lucky enough to kind of invest in a couple of more, like, not high-end pieces, I don't really like that term, but I bought the Topshop unique dress, I think it is, and the purple one, which I wear all the time still. And it's things like that I started investing in things that I know I'd have for the long run. I have my Charlotte Olympia cat shoes, which I still absolutely adore. And even then I was still using my Mulberry Alexa, which was my first ever bag, or my first ever designer bag, which I got way back when I was 18. There's a real kind of pattern when I look back. I really see a lot of like denim, midi skirts are always a thing, pleated midi skirts I've loved for years. And colour, I think I've always been a real fan of colour in my wardrobe. There were a lot of phases, especially with blogging, that I think people thought it was a bit cooler. It is cool to still wear very black and white, quite minimal clothes, and that's never really been something that's worked for me personally. So it's been really interesting to see how my love of colour and print has evolved from wearing things that are luminous to more pastel, more like pared back, but still quite playful and fun, and how my style has evolved, because it really has, especially in the last year. There's pictures where I've been like doing suits and things, but I still kind of play on that kind of the cut and the shape and the colour, because that's really important to me, and it's still really important to build an outfit on things that make you feel the most confident. So yeah, looking back over pictures from the last year, I see things that I've loved for years, like this dotted sheer tights, which I remember wearing way back when. There's like little bows around my neck, but that kind of came around. And it's weird because I talk to people like my mum who are like, oh, it's really interesting seeing things come back around from like the 80s and 90s, and I think when she used to say that, I never really could relate. I'd be like, oh yeah, things come around, cool. But now I really see that, even in the last 10 years of my style, I think, wow, things have really come full circle. And I don't know, I doubt wearing a tape around your neck is going to come back round, but there are things I'm definitely thinking, wow, like, I see why that worked then, and I see how I can now incorporate it into a more adult wardrobe. So yeah, it's been really interesting, and I really hope you have enjoyed this video. I've not waffled too much. It was really, really fun going down my archives of my blog, my Myspace, Facebook, and just seeing like how my style has changed. And yeah, I feel like almost a bit breathless because I've just spoken so much. So, whew, I really hope you've enjoyed this video, and yeah, it's not been too self-indulgent. I know talking about my personal style is self-indulgent to an extent, but I hope it's been quite interesting to perhaps see the pieces that have withstood the test of time. And yeah, I hope you really enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and I will see you again soon.